So let's say that you've done your brainstorming and you've decided on a topic to write about. The thing you might consider doing next is creating an outline or a general layout for your essay. It could be a personal narrative, it could be a research paper, it could be a reflective essay, it could be a novel or a short story or a poem. But generally in academic contexts, it's a pretty good idea to have a sense of where your writing is going to go. Not all writers work like this. You know, some novelists, for example, sort of either have a mental layout of what the story is going to look like, or they allow the writing to carry them wherever it leads. In other words, they use their intuitions maybe in the way that they develop their characters without necessarily having a preconceived idea of where the story is going to go. They just sort of allow the story to take them where it feels like it should go. But for academic purposes, you generally want to have a layout. So we'll begin by, I'll try to give you a general broad strokes view of the structural parts of an outline. So an outline has three general parts. The first part is the introduction. I should say that an essay has three general parts, which an outline serves to map out for you. So the first part is the introduction. Now the introduction it's generally a paragraph long, so you're thinking 5 to 7 sentences. And this really serves to introduce your main idea. So it introduces your main idea. Let's call it your main idea sentence, because generally this is expressed in a single sentence. But just to give you a little more creative leeway here, let's say 2 sentences max. You don't generally want to go over that. So 1 to 2 sentences, but usually 1 sentence. Now, as far as the rest of the introduction goes, because it is an entire paragraph, in terms of what should be included and what should be left out of an introduction, the best way to get a sense of that is by reading the essays of other people. So you should ask your instructor about that if you want to see examples, and they should be all too happy to provide you with some. Okay, the second part of an outline is called the body. The second part of your essay is the body, and this, if you'll forgive the expression, is the meat and potatoes of your paper. In other words, this is where you provide details. And each of these details should be related to your main idea. So for example, let's say I'm writing about, I believe I mentioned this in a previous video. Let's say the topic I decided to go with in my personal narrative, story about me or a life experience, was my move to Boston. Now 3 is a great number of details to go with. So I'm going to recommend 3. At least 3, let's say no more than 5, but really the number is kind of arbitrary and depends on how long your paper is required to be by your instructor. In this video, I'm going to go with 3 details. And maybe I decide to hone in on or zoom in on the details I want to describe, let's say will be how long it took me to move. Maybe I want to discuss cultural differences between New England and the South. Maybe I want to discuss things that I like to do in my new city. The body of my essay will provide those details and explain them. Now, of course, the length of the body will depend on the length of the overall paper. Let's say though that this paper is, I don't know, 3 or 4 pages long, in which case the body of my essay will probably take up about 3 to 3.5 pages. So I'll just go with that. 3 to 3.5 pages. Generally speaking, this is going to be double-spaced text. Finally, the last section of the essay will be the conclusion. Now, the conclusion, you may have heard this before. All it does is summarizes the main points. Summarize your main points. Restate the main idea. And crucially, so as to avoid giving the reader a sense that you could have written more, and rather give them the impression that this is in fact the end of the essay, don't introduce any new ideas. Because this would not be the place to do that. And your conclusion, kind of like your introduction, should be between 5 and 7 sentences. A paragraph. One paragraph. And this is it. This is the broad strokes organizational structure of an essay. Once you can fill all of these details in, you should have a 3 to 4 page paper. I hope you found some of these tips useful, and if you did not, be sure to leave some constructive feedback in the comments section, and I will try to address that in a subsequent video. So enjoy the rest of your day, and happy writing.